So flew to OR that Monday, and on Tuesday we set up our booth. I was very fortunate to have friends and friends of friends with me to help me set up the booth and to help me throughout the show. My friend Barb Miller from Denver came with me. A friend Tyler Custard was on his summer break from college, so he was able to go. And also his two friends that live in Salt Lake helped out, Dan Talenko and Dylan Vesper. They were so gracious to help me out, even though I didn't even know them. Well, when I started looking around the other booths, I kind of noticed I didn't have any floor for my booth, but that was okay. I really wanted to do the show, one, to network, and two, really to do a tryout of what it's like to have a booth at a trade show. So we set up our booth, went back to the hotel, and ta-da, yay, a low top and my first high top I saw. Still pretty crappy, but at least I had additional shoes to show. And I did have a bag that I had bought a sewing machine and actually made the bag part of it so I could show how it all works. I'm not the best sewer for sure. So the doors open, people start coming in. And the first thing I noticed was people kind of looked at my booth a little perplexed because they weren't quite sure what was going on. I had a tent set up, I had 5 camping chairs, and I had 2 little shoes sitting on a table. So people walk by, it's like, really like those chairs. Where can I get the chairs? I'm like, I'm not selling chairs. I'm selling these really cool boots and shoes. And then I decided I was going to break the rule. You're never supposed to do it at a trade show, but actually try to bring people into your booth. So people walking by, I just started throwing my shoes at them. So they had to kind of stop and catch and, oh, what's this? So as I started doing that more and more, people came up to me and they're like, I love it. I love the idea. I remember the first time somebody came up and said, wait, I'm a backpacker and this would be awesome for backpacking. Like, wow, I didn't think of that. Okay, yay. And then it was, well, these are a great camping shoe. A woman came by that lived in New York. She said, oh my gosh, this solution, now I don't have to walk in my tennis shoes in the winter when I'm walking from the subway. I can walk in these shoes. These are perfect. And then another guy came by and he's like, okay, I want to place an order. I'm like, an order? I don't have an order form, and this isn't exactly how they're going to end up looking, so I can't take your order. But it was fun. I mean, the reception was phenomenal. Everybody said they really liked the idea. So, I left that show so energized, thinking, okay, this really could have some legs, or I guess feet. There's has a chance of making it. So finally got a sample. It started to look like the shoe that looks good. Then the next thing I did was really go back to my bank account. I think I'd been kind of ignoring it because it was depleting, but it really was depleting a lot faster than I thought it was. And it dawned on me that I really wouldn't even have enough money to buy inventory once I even finalized the samples. So I'd gone to Denver Startup Week and really learned a lot. I mean, the cool thing about Denver Startup Week, I was working out of my house. I've been alone on this island for so long and went to this event. It was their inaugural event, and there were so many people that were startups. I mean, I felt like finally I wasn't by myself in this world. And I really learned a lot about, how to find investors. So I was able to use that and start calling friends and family, because that's basically what they teach you. You have to go to your friends and family. So I had basically one friend that had some money, and it was an old boyfriend, and he didn't have a lot of money when we dated, so I took care of him. So I thought I would try to give him a call and see if maybe he could help me out. So I made that call, and that was hard because I became a lawyer to basically take care of myself. And I'd finally gotten to a point in this business where I couldn't do it on my own anymore, and I needed people's help. And it was really hard to ask for money. But I did pick up the phone and I called Matt, and he was all in. So he gave me $50,000, which allowed me, actually when I got my samples finalized, I was able to place my first order. So I basically had to go to OR at the end of the month and still didn't have samples. Literally the Friday before OR, I leave, the samples showed up, and they looked so great. All the different colors were really fun. So drove to OR on Monday and had a real booth this time. I'm so glad I did a tryout booth because having the real booth was amazing. So the reception at the show, having people walk by my booth and they could tell that I was actually selling shoes. That was fun. I was in the ballroom where all the new products were, and it was just so amazing, the reception I got. So many people were interested, and the biggest thing that came out of that show was actually Sahali Catalog. They ended up placing an order. SIA was another great show, really got a lot of interest with the boots, had a lot of media show up. Really, after we left SIA, 5280 did an article about Pakems, and it was so exciting to see the first written document about Pakems other than something I actually wrote myself. So I finally got my first shipment of boot. There's only 500 pair that they airlifted over here, but I got my first shipment, so I was able to start selling. So put them on the internet, and literally the next day I started getting sales. It was really fun because the first guy that bought boots was one of my friends, because I'd posted on Facebook that I finally had shoes to sell. So I actually drove to his house and hand delivered the boots because I thought that would be fun. So Bodhi came with me. It was fun to see him put the boots on. So then I really started wanting to get the shoe out there. And I thought the best thing to do would be really to just start having tents. So I ended up having a tent the closing weekend of Vail. On my way to go to Vail, I stopped at Clear Creek Outdoors, which was a store in Idaho Springs. And this guy that I had hired to do my website, his cousin actually owned the store. So I stopped there. It was my very first time, walked in, had my boots, tried to see if he wanted to buy them, and she bought them. I couldn't believe it. It was so exciting. And sure enough, I made a sale. He actually wanted to buy them, put them in his store, which was phenomenal. So the next stop was actually at the Loveland ski area, the sports shop at the base of Loveland. And then when I got to Vail, I walked into another store, and I thought for sure 3's a charm. Yeah, 3 wasn't a charm. So it took a while. I went into a lot of stores after that. And what had happened was, because I wasn't able to start selling the boots earlier, everybody was pretty much done buying for that ski season. And I really wouldn't be able to start selling into stores until the next winter. I ended up having a tent on the closing weekend of Aspen Highlands, and the reception was great. And at this point, I had actually met Matthew Tapper, and he became an intern. So he came up and helped out, and so many people actually at the booth walked away and said, that guy is good at selling. So here I was starting to finally have a little bit of help. In late spring of that year, I basically got a knock on my door, and it was my friend Karen LeBeer. She showed up at my house, and she said, Julie, how can I help you? I said, Karen, I don't need help. She said, you absolutely need help. Like, okay, you're right, I really need help. Again, not good for asking for help, but she just sat on my couch and said, all right, what do you want me to do? And she just started helping me, which was amazing to really start having a little bit of help. I really was working night and day, and I couldn't keep going at that pace. So it was a Sunday in May, and I'd taken Bodhi to Apex to basically have him go swimming. And all day long, I started to have chest pains. And I really got concerned. About 6 o'clock that night, I called Karen. I said, Karen, I have these chest pains. My grandfather died of his 4th heart attack. My grandmother died on the operating table having open heart surgery. I'm having chest pains. And she said, okay, we're going to the hospital now. I said, but I don't have time to go to the hospital. And she said, yes, you do have time to go to the hospital. We're going now. So the next video you'll want to see, obviously I'm still alive, so I didn't die. But don't miss it.